This episode is brought to you by Morty, Buzzshot, Cogs by Clockwork Dog, RECON, and Patreon supporters like you.
Cogs by Clockwork Dog is an easy-to-use software-hardware platform for running interactive events, including escape rooms and other immersive experiences. Their plug-and-play hardware seamlessly integrates with their software, so you can create a show with lighting and sound cues without having to write a single line of code. Map all kinds of inputs to outputs by building up simple logic steps, which determine what you want to happen and when. If you're new to immersive tech, Cogs can empower you to create without writing any code at all. Using simple building blocks, you can create any kind of puzzle in the software, and their system will tell the hardware exactly what to do. And if you're a seasoned maker, they have an abundance of tools to expand your capabilities. Create any form of logic by using their expression language, build your own plugins for external software or hardware, and create your own custom content for things like physical or touchscreen interactions. Get the Cogs starter set for only $130 plus free shipping to the USA. This bundle is usually valued at $257. You can learn more and purchase your starter set at cogs.show. Use code REPOD at checkout. That's REPOD. Link and details in the show notes.
Welcome to the Reality Escape Pod, your lifeline when you need to get away from the real world. I'm David Spira, alongside my co-host, PG Law. Together, we're exploring immersive gaming from all angles, and we'll be joined by guests who really know their stuff. This season, we are shining a spotlight on Southern California in celebration of our convention, RECON, which will be in Los Angeles, California on August 18th and 19th, 2024. Tickets are on sale now at realityescapecon.com. And today's guests are Theresa Wagner and Lee-Fay, two of the wonderful and talented people who make up the group of folks behind our escape room convention, RECON. Lee-Fay is our programming lead, helping to recruit and work with speakers, while Theresa is our games lead, helping to inject a bit of mystery and intrigue into the festivities. Welcome back to the show, Theresa and Lee-Fay.
Hello! Hi! Thanks for having us again and again and again. Multiple years in a row.
I am absolutely thrilled to be talking about RECON, especially because it is in my backyard. It is in Los Angeles. The convention itself will be located basically next to Universal Studios. It's walking distance to the City Walk. It's in the very center. There's a ton of stuff to explore. Yeah,
we're back. We're talking about RECON. You might be wondering why, and the answer is because these episodes have been really popular. I was surprised. PG wanted to do early episodes on RECON. I was reluctant, but all of you continue to download them, and so we're back. And this time, we're going to give you a sense of what is different for this year, because there's a whole bunch of things that have been improved and adjusted. And then we'll give you a little behind the scenes about all of the different thought processes and ways that we go about doing all of this stuff.
David, we should talk about the theme.
The theme? Yeah, we should talk about the theme. We'll definitely talk about the theme.
I can't wait to hear about the theme, but let's just start with the basics first. What is RECON? What is RECON LA?
RECON is the escape room and immersive gaming convention put on by the Room Escape Artist team. Back in 2019, we were getting frustrated with the state of escape room conferences and decided that the only way that we were going to get the change that we wanted, the types of content that we wanted, the focus on the things that were so important to us was if we were the ones who put it together and brought that to the world. And so that's what we did. Started it in 2020. We've been going strong annually ever since.
LA's our second in-person RECON, and we're so excited to be visiting a different part of the US. I've only been to LA once, PG, so I'm looking for all your tips.
I've got a ton of tips for what escape rooms to do when you're here, places that you should eat, even if you're like, I'm playing a game at Hatch Escapes, what restaurants should I go eat at? I got you covered. So if you are a patron, you can ask in the Discord and we can help you plan out your entire schedule. I love this city. There's so much to offer and I love sharing it with our listeners.
And I'll tell you this. I quickly learned that when PG recommends a restaurant, just go. She knows what's up.
It's going to be good. Don't question it. Don't look too hard at it. Don't look at any reviews. It's going to be amazing.
I will also plug the updated LA Escape Room Regional Guide. I worked on this with Lisa, and LA is a kind of a weird market because it's so big. We actually ended up having to split the regional guide into like 3 different sub-regions, but that is available on roomescapeartist.com. So if you're planning on coming, you can go there to start planning your trips. Now, how is RECON LA different from online recons? Because what you do is you do virtual recon 1 year and then you do an in-person live recon every other year.
That's been the pattern.
One of the most unique things about in-person recon versus virtual recon is that, yes, we have ways to communicate with people, ways to network with people, ways to really link up with your community virtually, and we still have the same fantastic quality talks. We still have the same interactive content and excitement online, but in person, I've been to so many conventions over the years, and whether they're professional conventions or fun conventions like video games, pop culture, whatever, Recon is one of the most friendly networking places. It almost doesn't feel like you're networking. You feel like you're with another 400 people that are your best friends, sitting in a lobby together, hanging out until the sun rises, even though you have talks the next morning. The community that we bring to Recon is there to learn the industry and learn the ins and outs and learn how to improve their business. But at the same time, the network that the in-person recons brings are invaluable for every single person that's there.
We have talks both at online recons and in-person recons, but there's nothing like going to a live talk where the speakers are interacting with you and our speakers specifically think about the in-person format and how they can really lean into that. There was something hidden under chairs last time. We can't do that this time around. But again, there'll be surprises with the in-person format.
I still get goosebumps every time anybody talks about Recon Boston because of Haley and Cameron's talk about the magic circle and the ways that they do it with Strange Bird Immersive down in Houston and everything about that talk. I'm not even a designer. I make graphics. I don't even design puzzles. I just bring excitement to things. And I was sitting there with goosebumps, just so excited for the direction that those people in that auditorium listening to this talk were going to take the minute they walked out of that auditorium.
Yeah, I think that this really hits on one of the core differences. Whichever format we're running, when we're running virtual, we work with the speakers to figure out how to make really good virtual talks. How do we lean into the strengths of video editing and pre-recorded content? And then when we are live in person, how do we maximize that? How do we use that energy and that presence that's in the room and impart information and energy that way? That's what we're looking to do. And I think that's something that permeates the entire event. And I think when people talk about the community, that's the kindness and openness of the speakers, of the entire organizing team, and all of the folks who come and catch that bug. It is just an exciting place to be.
There's also nothing quite like a live demonstration. And there were quite a few surprises at Recon Boston. I remember Haley and Cameron gave a talk about the magic circle, and then suddenly they had a quick change and they came out in entirely different characters. And hearing the talk that they gave, but then seeing how they implemented it, it was really effective. Or even seeing Carol Murphy talk about how you can use certain movements to do large crowd work, but then seeing them actually going through those motions, I think it really helped having that visual display.
One of the most interesting things post-Recon 22 was that I actually saw Caro in person in an immersive event. up in Boston at Drosselmeyer, and they absolutely killed it implementing the things that they were talking about. And I've seen some talks at other conventions before where the speakers clearly know what they're talking about, but it's like, do they actually implement this in their own work? And seeing Caro actually take advantage of what they had talked about at RECON and actually use it and implement it in a crowd was something I never thought I'd appreciate. And it was just so interesting and amazing to see.
Yeah, couldn't put that better.
So Theresa talked about the all-night lounge games, but for those of you who are more concerned about meeting people, there's also formal networking events as well. So our Birds of a Feather discussion groups are designed so that you can meet people and talk shop in a slightly more managed or controlled setting. You'll get to introduce each other, know what people do, and then talk about different aspects of escape room business and design.
And something really fun about the Birds of a Feather talk is that you get to choose your topic to join instead of just jumping into a circle and be like, what are you talking about? So it's definitely a little more constructed, but also very open-ended with anything that you want to talk about regarding that topic.
We'll jump into how all of those work in a little bit, but I wanted to start with who is RECON for? Who should be attending this conference?
RECON is designed as a professional event for people who are working in the escape room world or immersive gaming world, or are thinking about producing work in the escape room or immersive gaming world. We are never going to discriminate. We're never going to go and say, you're just a player, you can't show up. There's a lot of room for players, and a lot of players do come. Some come because they love the medium and they love the people in the medium, but some come because the difference between a escape room player and an aspiring creator has always been paper thin. It's like for board game players. Very few people can be a serious board game player and not start to daydream about the board game that they would make. And escape rooms are a similar thing. But this is very much a professional event. But we like to have fun.
So it feels different to PAX, which is for the players. This is for the people who make the sausages.
It also, I feel like, has a good application to enthusiasts as well who are interested in the industry, not necessarily people that are currently making escape rooms, but for people maybe looking to enter the industry or even just support the industry from an enthusiast perspective. I think it really is invaluable.
We go out of our way to coach our speakers on being present at the event, being there to speak to people. We do what we call click busting, because we've been to other conferences where there are dominant cliques that are also made up of most of the speakers at the show. And they talk to each other, they hang out with each other, and they don't really make much room for other people. We really try not to spend so much time with just people that we've already known. We really, from the organizers to the speakers, go out of our way to make sure that there is a very egalitarian feel when conversation is happening.
The players who come also make important contributions to the conversations as well, because these games are made for players. And I think it is really useful for creators to keep the viewpoints and the differing viewpoints and preferences of players in mind as well. So I think it keeps those conversations grounded, having players at the con.
Whether we're talking about the content of the talks or the content of the show floor, there's going to be a show floor, we'll get to that shortly, or the discussions that we're going to be having, these are professionally focused. And that's been the North Star for the team for quite a while. In the past, we used to have talks in RECON 20 and 21 where we would have a talk or two that was focused on player-related things. Those don't exist anymore. The talks are all very professionally focused, but we've also come to realize that the players who want to show up at an event like this, they want to learn also. So the professional content appeals to them, but that's where everything is focused.
If you're a new owner, what are some benefits for people who are new owners or who are looking to break into the industry? What can you get out of RECON?
I suspect that the Birds of the Feather and the networking are got to be the most useful for new people. Of course, we have great talks, but being able to meet people ask questions and learn from the mistakes that others have made and the tips that others have are probably what new or thinking about owners have found the most useful in previous cons.
Now, if you are a really successful escape room owner, you've been around the block, you've got a booming business, what does RECON have to offer you?
Every talk that we put on stage is designed with all different levels in mind. One of the things that we've found with working with speakers is you can craft a talk where almost everything will be really valuable to somebody who is newer to the craft or learning about the subject that is being talked about on stage. But we always try to make sure that every single talk has something in there that's really powerful for the established creator and business owner. There's always something. And that's one of the things that we like to really think about is if you're really deep in the craft, if you really know what you're doing, you're looking for gems that you can pluck out. If you are newer to this, then everything is valuable. But we want to make sure there's something for everybody. And from the birds of a feather and more conversational content, there is a lot of value for established creators in conversing on these subjects. It's remarkable what happens when you stop practicing and spend a little bit of time teaching people what you know. All of a sudden, these ideas that have been mushy in your head start to take form into something that you can actually go back home and put into practice. It's a really cool thing that happens where you go into a conference, you actually just teach people, and then you come home having a better understanding of what you knew going in.
I was going to say, if anything, I think the person who is like, I already discovered the successful formula. I have the formula for how to run a successful escape room business. And that's great. Come share your knowledge. But also, don't you get a little bored? I feel like sometimes when you've found the formula that works, you start to dial it in and it loses that spark. And I feel like nothing reignites the passion more than speaking to people who are new to the industry, who are new to the passion, and they have all these great ideas and they're doing something different than you do. Maybe you don't have actors and someone else is really into actor-driven interactions and you've got something new and challenging to mull over, because in life, you always want to start pushing yourself to the next level, right?
A lot of what we have going on at RECON is about rut busting. It's about getting you to think in different directions. We have the game that we make for RECON, and the goal for that is always to go and explore new design space. We have these experiences that we bring in, and those are about introducing people to new ways of doing similar things. And then, again, the talks. So much of what we have going on is really there to help people build new mental pathways and think about new ways of doing old things.
In previous years' RECON, we've had so many different owners that have had rooms in the Top Escape Room Project, or TERPECA, as some people may know it, show up and gain so many new ideas, even though their games are some of the best in the world, most creative in the world, whatever got them there. Not a single game in the top 100 is using the same formula and doing all of the same things. And we wouldn't see clones up there if they were there. And every single owner can learn something from so many different owners that designing games is never something that's going to be perfected. It's an art form. It's not like you go into a museum and there's one best piece. There's a million different pieces. And every single person that leaves that museum is going to have a different favorite piece.
We see owners getting inspired by each other and perhaps egging each other on or pushing each other to try new things. And some of those things are fantastic and some of those things fail. But it's so exciting because for owners, they get recharged, I think, especially owners who do it for the reasons of creativity. They fill their cup up with inspiration at RECON just by talking to other people who also care deeply about this art form.
Now, besides RECON, you also offer the escape room tours. So how do you decide which event you should be attending?
Our escape room tours, the Escape Immerse Explore tours, we run 2 a year. Those are for absolutely anyone and everyone. They are very much player focused. Whether you're an owner who happens to be a player or a player we are happy to have you. And we get a good mix of both. We always have pros who are coming on our tours looking to get inspiration, to see what other people are doing, and always happy to have everybody. If you are choosing between coming on our fall tour or coming to RECON this summer, like you can only do one, my advice is if you are a player first, go on the tour. And if you are a creator first, or you're thinking about becoming that creator, go to RECON. That's the basic heuristic, but capacity for RECON is quite a bit more than the tours. And so we're happy to have you at both. There'll be things to learn and things to play at both. The dials are just turned up in different directions, depending upon which one you choose.
We're taking a moment to thank our sponsor, Morty. Morty is a free app for discovering, planning, tracking, and reviewing escape rooms, haunts, and other immersive social outings. And Morty is now available for all to use on its fantastic website experience, iPhone app, and its new Android app, available in the Google Play Store now. I believe in Morty so much that I have a stake in it as an advisor. One of the things that I really love about Morty is how more players using it improves the experience for all of us. I love getting new people to come in and use Morty because it means more data for me to be able to find all the games that I love.
And actually, it's already the biggest community of immersive entertainment fans in the world. It is worldwide. That makes it extremely useful already. So when you go on, you can find escape rooms from anywhere. The more people we have on, the more reviews they will be on there, the more useful it will be to everybody. And it already works so well. And I think just getting more and more players on it, it's just going to improve the experience that much more. If you own an operation, what are you doing if you're not on Morty? This is the best way to promote your business and to get it in front of the eyes of the players. I'm on there actively looking whenever I'm booking escape rooms, when I'm planning an escape room trip. That's my first resource. So make sure that all of your friends are using it as well. You can learn more at morty.app/repod. That's REPOD to sign up and get a special badge for our listeners. Link and details in the show notes. So you had mentioned earlier that RECON LA is going to be quite a departure from the last live event in Boston. So I want to talk about some of the differences between the two events.
They are all coming from the same DNA. They're all coming from the same core and the same soul of what we did in Boston. But what we are trying to do is every time we run an event, we look at it and we say, what worked? What could have been better? What was a burden on the guests? What was a burden on us? How do we improve this thing? And there were a whole bunch of different gaps that we identified. The first one is that everything is going to be on site. We're not bussing people around. That was a very expensive, very time-consuming way of running an event. And a lot of people loved it. And a lot of people were like feeling FOMO. They didn't want to leave the convention center. And so we decided this year we're going to do the best of both worlds. We're bringing the entertainment on site.
That is, I think, the right call, because I got lost in the Boston subway system. I was late to my escape room, and then I felt, me, I always feel massive FOMO.
Sorry about that.
And the rest of us who haven't played in LA will just be arriving early or staying late and picking up all the great rooms in the region as well. So there'll be plenty of people to play with if you're traveling solo.
Absolutely.
There are way too many games. Don't try to play them all. You'll be there for 3 years.
Now, there was something else that you had mentioned earlier, which I didn't realize, because in the past couple years, you had a professional track and then like a player enthusiast track. And it sounds like you've done away with that this year.
Yeah, we did away with that a long time ago. We did away with that back in 2022. This was a core part of the pandemic era recons, where we were a very big tent. We had an audience that was basically trapped in their homes, and there were a lot of players who were really interested in learning things. And what we found over doing that, though, from satisfaction surveys, was that the players all liked the professional content more than they liked the player content. And the professionals, of course, preferred the professional content. So at the end of the day, that was where we decided to focus this. And it makes sense because that's also where the heart of this was.
Nobody wants to be like, I'm here for the noob talks.
It's funny because player-focused content is actually a really hard thing to do. We do it on Room Escape Artist all the time. And the level of understanding, even amongst players, is really broad. Players who have traveled the world and seen all sorts of different things have such a different perspective from players who've only played in one country, who have such a different perspective to players who've only played in one city. And so when you are online on the Facebook groups, you can see those people arguing, some of them in very firm absolutes, and they don't have the understanding. But what we found is that we can impart some of that understanding through professional content, and that is the better way for us to level up players.
It's so interesting that you say that because I've talked to so many people that have played in various countries and various cities and such widespread player bases. And every single person has a different viewpoint. Nobody agrees even at that level, even on the international level.
So is it just one ticket type then?
There's just one ticket type. It is one track. We do not counter program our speakers against each other. You don't have to make that choice. We have Imagi-Ne'er Do-Wells for entertainment, as well as the 49 boxes. You will have that scheduled into your schedule for you. There are opportunities for you to make choices, and we're going to get to this very soon in the scheduling portion, but the core of what makes up RECON, there's no FOMO. It's all there. The core of it has no competition.
You're singing my song, David. Hate the FOMO. Buzzshot is escape room software powering business growth, player marketing, and improving the customer experience. They offer an assortment of pre- and post-game features, including robust waiver management, branded team photos, and streamlined review management for Yelp, TripAdvisor, Google Reviews, and Morty. Buzzshot now also has integration with our other REPOD sponsors, Morty and Cogs.
We here at Room Escape Artists know just how expensive mailing list software can get. Did you know that Buzzshot has email broadcasts and customer surveys built in? Buzzshot allows you to create professional, personalized, and timely marketing emails and feedback surveys using easy-to-edit templates and variable content. Buzzshot helps you collect player and marketing data and enhances your customer communications to deliver more meaningful contact with those customers.
Shannon Johnson of The Grape Escape told us that Buzzshot helped completely legitimize our business and made us look like rock stars above our competition. Streamline your marketing and grow your escape room business. REPOD listeners get an extended free trial and 20% off your first 3 months with no setup fees or hidden charges. Visit buzzshot.com/repod, that's REPOD, to learn more. Link and details in the show notes. I know that we will not be including escape rooms as part of the conference, but you will be bringing 2 experiences to RECON. So let's dive into those a little bit. And now I know loyal listeners will have already gotten a taste of what these experiences are because we have had the creators of both experiences on REPOD.
This season.
Yeah. On episode 2, we interviewed Brett Jackson, who created the Imagi-Ne'er Do-Wells. For anybody who didn't listen to that episode yet, David, can you explain how Imagi-Ne'er Do-Wells works?
Imagi-Ne'er Do-Wells is this crazy game meets networking event hosted by Brett, who you should listen to his episode because the guy was born to host things. And he takes the audience through this creative exercise that is silly yet strangely poignant. And over the course of it, you'll meet all sorts of wonderful people, be exposed to all sorts of hilarious and fun ideas, and learn a little bit about yourself in the creative process. It is just a joy. Whether you are a seasoned creative or brand new to it, Imagi-Ne'er Do-Wells is such a soft, warm, comfortable way to engage. And it's just going to be a really nice way to cap off the day.
I think you'll get a lot out of it because it is first and foremost a networking event. There is time built into it to chat with people and prompts are given. And the event itself is based around a creative exercise. I think this would be fun even to just brainstorm up your next crazy, kooky idea that you want to bring to life. But on top of that, Brett himself is a really skilled designer, and he has purposefully designed a lot of safety measures into the event itself. And so it's interesting to even go and just look at it analytically to see what he's done. I love this event. I go a lot in LA. I can't wait to see what he's got in store for RECON because I know he's created something specific for the conference.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And we did a whole episode on this thing because it literally took half of that episode to fully explain Imagi-Ne'er Do-Wells. And that's because it is honestly unique. But the funny thing about it is that it is more complicated to tell you what it is than it is for you to experience it and understand it. And that really just underscores how skilled a designer Brett Jackson is.
PG, you said that you've played it multiple times. Do you really think it has that high of a replayability value?
Yeah, absolutely, because the format is the same every time, but the prompt is always different. You go and it's always something wild and unexpected. That part is really fun to see what new prompts there are so you can come up with a crazy idea. But then seeing everybody else's ideas come to life and seeing everybody present on their ideas, I didn't even know that people could be so creative. And you're like, why didn't I think of that? It's really fun. And then the other experience that you'll be bringing to RECON is the 49 boxes. Now, this is truly something that doesn't get run very often at all. It is almost impossible to get tickets to this event. And I am beyond thrilled that everybody who comes to RECON will get to experience it.
I got the weirdest text. I knew the RECON team was in LA. I was not in LA. I've played almost every game in that area. I got a weird text from David that said, you need to go to Michael's basement and play this thing. That's it. No context. I said, what the heck's going on? I don't think I got a response for a few days. And then I got a Discord call from David about a week later saying, we need to bring this to RECON. We need to figure this out. So I personally have not played 49 boxes, but ever since I got that really weird text from David, I have never been so excited to do an experience in my life, and I'm excited over everything.
I don't want to overhype it, but I do think that this will be a really unique experience. The format, the mechanics of how it works is very different. And plus, there's magic. Actual magic involved. So, but honestly, I think even that alone is worth the price of admission to come and experience that. And we also interviewed Michael Boris, who created the 49 boxes. It's one of the best episodes we have ever produced. And we go into more detail about the basement story in that bonus after show. So David has a very cryptic note here on our sheets that says, one more thing. So David, what is this one more thing we'll be having at RECON?
So we are going to be closing out RECON with a performance from the one and only Harrison Greenbaum, who has hosted past virtual RECONs. We're going to be getting his full magic and comedy act. He's also going to be doing a bit of a roast of escape rooms, which I have to assume means that I am going to get roasted as well.
I was going to say, it's also going to be a roast of David Spira.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that I'm going to leave pretty toasted.
Have you ever been roasted before?
Yeah, every day on the podcast by me.
Why don't we have a roast episode? Wait, can we just do the bonus episode of entirely roasts?
I'm open to it. So we have Harrison. He's going to close it out. I've seen his show live quite a few times over the years, and he is always savagely funny and so incredibly talented.
Gird your loins.
Yeah.
Can one of you go over who Harrison is?
Harrison Greenbaum was a guest a couple seasons ago. Season 5, episode 4.
And until recently, he was headlining the Mad Apple, a Cirque du Soleil show out in Vegas. He is hilarious, and he is an incredible magician as well.
And he's also been playing escape rooms as long as I have. He found them early. He travels the world to do his work, so he plays escape rooms wherever he goes.
He was also one of the hosts of RECON 21, wasn't he?
He was the host of RECON 20 and 21. He also did hosting in 23. It's long overdue that we actually get him performing in person, and we're really excited about it.
This is genuinely a surprise to me because I thought you were going to say Escape from Godot by Mr. and Mischief.
That is an add-on that you will be able to purchase on your own. But yes, we had Andy Crocker on the previous episode. Her and her husband are putting on Escape from Godot, which is an iconic LA escape room that hasn't been open for quite a while, and it's going to be running for 1 month in conjunction with RECON. We planned this with them. We are so excited that you are going to be able to book this because it is a must-play experience.
The looks on Theresa and Lee-Fay's face when I said this was pure panic, but also like, why don't I know about this?
Well, I know about Escape from Godot, and I'm sad that I never got to play it, so now I'm even more excited to go to RECON, and like, I run RECON.
We tried to have them come on site, and it wasn't possible, so this is new.
I want to be clear that this will not be included in the RECON ticket, but we have made arrangements with them that they will be running the show in the month of August when RECON will take place. So anybody who's coming from out of town, out of state, you should definitely get a ticket because, again, this event also never runs normally. You guys are getting treated to all kinds of mythical, legendary experiences that usually is only talked about in hushed whispers.
Okay, so back to that question of what's different this year, because there are more things. One of them is that we've left a lot more room to breathe in the schedule. We start programming every day at 9 a.m. We will wrap around 6 p.m. There'll be some other experiences that are happening in the evening. But from that point forward, we'll have a lot more room to hang out because the lobby parties were the heart of RECON in Boston. And what everybody came back saying is they wanted more time and they wanted it to start earlier than 10 p.m. And so we are making that much more prevalent. And so that's a key part of what we're doing.
There's also a great lobby there. And David specified in his contract that we could hang out in the lobby as late as we wanted to.
Kate specified in the contract, but yes.
Kate is a mad woman, and we are so glad to have her.
Indeed. Another thing that is different this year is we have a show floor for our sponsors and vendors, and that is a big, big improvement for us. I would say that one of the softer parts of RECON in the past was that we didn't have a lot of sponsor vendor support. And a lot of that was deliberate. We were trying to figure out what the core products were. We were trying to make sure that we had everything really buttoned up before we started bringing in that element. And we now have that. And we have some wonderful sponsors. You can see them all listed on the RECON homepage. There's going to be a show floor. You'll have time to go and visit these folks. There's a lot of really cool things. And the show floor is filling up pretty quickly. We're just closing some really big booths that are going to be taking up a good chunk of space and bringing some really fun things.
This is great news because I love a vendor hall. I like seeing the new innovations, new products. And it's fun to see what the possibilities are when you're looking at new toys to play with.
Yeah. And the show floor is completely focused on professionals. So that's the thing that's really important to know is that there's going to be some really cool things. If you're a player, there's plenty of cool things for you to see and check out. But it really is focused on the business side of things.
One of my biggest regrets from planning RECON 22 was that not as many people as I would have wanted got to experience the ARG. As everybody probably knows at this point, we had a secret game that was behind the scenes that I think we only had maybe 30 or 40 players out of all of RECON 22 finish. And it was a game that David and I worked our butts off designing with Augie and loved it, and it was amazing. And people got excited over the first part, and we didn't clue it well enough for folks to finish.
We hit it too well.
We did too good of a job with our game because it was secret, and it was a secret. And this year, something David and I really wanted to focus on is bringing a RECON game to everybody at RECON, giving you plenty of time to be able to play it and solve it and really enjoy it. And maybe some things will be hidden. So many surprises will be had, but you're going to know exactly where to start. And if you don't, just look a little harder.
Yeah, we're really doing our best to explore some unusual design space, show some different ways to play, using some common escape room tech in some weird and interesting ways. And that's something that excites us. Theresa and I think that the thing that we both have in common is that we like to deliberately inject silliness into things and do it purposefully and do it in a way that people can enjoy and learn at the same time. But that is where we are focused. And we have Mark Larson, who was a past REPOD guest. He's been on a couple of different times. Season 5, episode 11, we interviewed him. And in season 6, episode 4, he ran the shop of Theseus for Hey Riddle Riddle. We love collaborating with him. He's just a really talented designer. And we're making something that I think people will really enjoy, whether you want to learn from it or you want to just play it for funsies. Both options are great.
If you've ever played any of Mark's digital content, any of his audio escape rooms or Rough Bluff, or really anything that he's designed for enthusiasts and players alike, you're going to see a lot of Mark's personality glow through an in-person game. And we are so excited to see this come to RECON.
Now, Lee-Fay, earlier you touched upon the birds of a feather slightly. Can you talk a little bit about what those are and how they work?
Birds of a feather are structured discussion groups. We send out a survey every year where we ask people about topics that they're interested in talking about, and those most popular topics we make into discussion groups. Sometimes there'll be a facilitator in those groups, sometimes they won't, but we'll have a structure so that people meet each other in the group. They can talk about their experiences on the topic, share lessons, perhaps mistakes that they've made, and brainstorm together as an industry how to solve things going forward. So, for example, an idea we've been throwing around in the chat is AI and its role in escape rooms. So I suspect that that's going to be one of the topics beyond the things that we often talk about, like set design, immersion, storytelling, tech, and lots of business aspects of escape rooms as well.
Now, is each group going to get the same set of topics, or is each group going to be dedicated to its own topic?
During each Birds of a Feather block, we'll have at least 3 different topics going on for you to go and choose from. We are going to run each of these topics twice, one on Sunday, one on Monday. So if there's 2 things happening that you're really excited about at the same time, you will have the opportunity to go and do that again. So that's one of the major changes for Birds of a Feather. The other major change is that back in 2023, we really started to iterate on that format. We really started to think about how we were training our facilitators. We're continuing to iterate on that. Got better last year. It'll be even better this year. We are really figuring out what the product is that is Birds of a Feather and figuring out how to train for it, how to prep for it, and how to pull it all together in the room.
David, are we going to try and get in some special guest facilitators for Birds of a Feather?
Yeah, we're going to have some special guests. We're working on pinning down those contracts, but that's something that's going to happen. We're going to have a couple of sessions where we're bringing in specialists to lead the discussion. And I think that's something you can check out the RECON newsletter to learn more about.
I'm so intrigued. I don't know anything about this.
You really don't.
Oh, you're going to be excited.
I bet. All right, let's move on to the speakers. Who do we have on the schedule of talks?
It's been fun programming the talks this year because I feel like we've really matured as a con. So rather than programming what I think of as like undergraduate talks. Now we can program masters and PhD talks, mature talks. So go on to the Room Escape Artist YouTube to watch our past talks. We're really trying to extend the content and think about what's interesting and cutting edge, both in design and in escape room business.
We have a lot of wonderful speakers lined up. We have Tommy Houghton from Stash House, past REPOD guest. He is going to be talking about testing and iteration, something that he is masterful at. And it's a bigger topic than I think you're imagining. We have Arlo Howard, who's one of the co-creators of The Golden Scribe. They've also worked on The Burnt City with Punch Drunk. Arlo is going to be talking about thinking beyond the win-loss binary and really helping to focus the conversation on how winning and losing and just thinking in those basic terms is limiting you from a game design standpoint, and it's also limiting your business opportunities. We have Andy Crocker, who was on the last episode of REPOD. Andy's going to be talking about directing scripted and unscripted performance. She is a master at this and has done it for Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser and Ghost Town Alive at Knott's Berry Farm. They are as lovely as they are talented. We have Paul Wood, who owns Rush Hour Escape in Virginia. He is going to be talking about using data to better your escape room business. We have Christine Barger, who owns the Exit Game OC, past REPOD guest. She has over 1 million followers on TikTok. She's going to be talking about how to use video, social media, TikTok, Instagram, and the like to go and get more people in the door of your business. We have Terry and Tommy from Hatch Escapes. They are going to be exploring storytelling, what has worked, what has failed. They are brilliant creators. They're very skilled at assessing their own work, their own strengths and weaknesses, and they are very experienced players who have seen a lot and really understand storytelling. And they have a lot to share on this subject that so many people are so passionate about. And the final announced talk at this point is Francine and Victor from Sherlocked in Amsterdam. Sherlocked is one of, in my opinion, the most important escape room companies in the history of the medium. They made one of the earliest iconic escape rooms in the Vault. And more recently, they released The Alchemist, which may be my new favorite escape room. I fell in love with this game. It just filled me with joy. And they are going to be talking about hiring contractors and managing contractors to build crazy things. This is very much a business talk, but they are such ludicrously talented and giving creators. And so they're going to be helping our audience figure out how to accomplish all of their goals and make all of the things they want to make while working with other people, and how to avoid some of those pitfalls and just the ways that they went about making this game that were so effective, and the things that they screwed up along the way.
We'll also have a talk from David and Lisa, but David has learned from past recons that he needs to write the talk after we've seen the other talks. So we're waiting for drafts from our speakers, and we'll do a practice talk with them so that they're really polished. And we have high quality presenters, not just people who are good with the content, but good on stage.
David, I think you should show up to your talk with zero preparation, stand on stage, ask the audience what they want you to talk about. I will raise my hand and say knitting and force you to talk about knitting for 35 minutes. How do you feel about that?
I could talk about a lot of things unprompted. Knitting might be a failure.
Theresa, I have taught knitting and I could give it 30 minutes.
I could talk about knitting for like an hour.
Yeah. PG and I could do that.
All right, great, cool. I will ask every question. I'm also lefty, so I need you to give your talk left-handed.
I can knit left to right or right to left.
Perfect.
So, Lee-Fay, earlier you had hinted at the theme of the convention. I feel like this might be a good time to talk about that.
Yeah, this con is going to be focused on the next 10 years of escape rooms. Room Escape Artists just turned 10. Escape rooms in the US are 10 or 11.
I just turned 10.
Escape rooms in the US have been around in force for about 10 years. And I think we're starting to see the category hit a point of maturity where people are starting to professionalize, and we are really focusing the content on that professionalization. We want to arm our audience with the kind of knowledge they need to work with data, to work with contractors, to be the kinds of professionals they need to be in order to not just survive, but thrive.
Exciting. I can't wait to see what the next 10 years brings. I want to go behind the scenes a little bit because I always like seeing how the sausage is made. I know that you guys have hit upon some improvements. You're learning and iterating from the past years. So what are some of the new things to expect this year?
So a lot of the things that we've improved are behind the scenes stuff. The stuff that's being improved that's going to be visible, the part of the iceberg that's up over the water, we talked about that. That's all of the different things like having everything on site, giving the event a little bit more room to breathe, having a show floor, improvements to Birds of a Feather, improvements to the game. All of that stuff is the visible stuff. But then there's also all of the stuff that makes running the event so much more effective. I've talked about this in the past, especially in some of the bonus episodes. Early versions of RECON were made inefficiently. It's part of making something new. It's part of producing something where the team doesn't fully know how to work together. We don't know exactly what the product is going to be. But as all of those things start to take shape, we can start to look for efficiencies. And that's what we've been focusing on for a couple of years now, is how do we all make doing our jobs easier and more fun and more effective? And so that's something that we've been very, very focused on. It's an important thing for all businesses to do, and that's really what we're focused on internally, is how do we do the thing that makes the best possible product for all of our guests, but do it in a way that is more sustainable. So we have better ticketing systems that are deeply integrated into everything, so we don't have people manually moving data around. We used to have that. It was a nightmare. We have built out this sponsor experience on our website, so when you are a sponsor looking to go and complete all of the paperwork, the contracts, when you're trying to go and buy up whatever it is you need, most of that just exists in an e-commerce experience. We can do separate things for companies that need it, but we have streamlined that to make it so much easier and so much less of a burden on our sponsors. We have systematized so much of our internal stuff. Theresa, you and I have been systematizing graphics and organizing that and making it all so much better.
The amount of graphics I have overhauled in the last 6 months to just make it so that my life is easier down the line is, I can't express how much time I've saved by just spending a little bit of time making the graphics cleaner.
We've put a lot of quality of life stuff into everything we're doing, and that is really so that we can put the effort where it matters, which is the guest experience, and not be constantly fiddling with all sorts of nonsense that isn't really helping anybody. It's just work that needs to get done. We've been figuring out how to make that all work better.
This explains why David seems much less stressed this year than in previous years, where around this time, his hair is on fire. It's starting to all come together.
The whole team is so much more calm. The goal that Lisa and I gave the team 2 years ago was, let's figure out how to make this more efficient. The goal that we gave at the start of the RECON LA cycle was, cool, we made it a little bit more efficient. Let's make running this boring. Let's make it so that we don't have fire drills. We don't have all of the emergencies. And we have really succeeded in that. And so the team is just a lot more calm. And that has allowed us to get so much more done with a lot less drama.
So finally, if you've already bought a ticket, you're planning on attending RECON LA, how can those people connect and coordinate with other attendees if they want to meet them ahead of time, if they want to try to schedule some people to play escape rooms with? I will say that if you're able to join like a Discord and chat with other attendees ahead of time, it really makes it a lot smoother when you meet in person, and it makes it much less awkward.
That's the answer. You just answered your question, PG. It's Discord.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, we have a Discord channel for people who have tickets to RECON. Right now, it is just one pre-event channel. There aren't 1,000 channels. It's really simple. It's really streamlined. You go in there, you announce to the group that, like, hey, this is my name. This is where I'm from. I'm looking for people to play with. People will reach out to you. And as we get closer to the event, there will be people organizing. They'll have spreadsheets. I'm looking for teammates here. It's such a kind, wonderful, organized community of people. And so, yeah, just get yourself involved. Even if you're a little afraid of Discord, I promise you, it's real gentle. If you are confused, you can message Lisa or whoever helps check you in the process. They'll help you get your footing. It's really not complicated. It's only scary in your mind. And we have a really streamlined system for you. So yeah, just go on, meet some folks.
Exposure makes everything feel more comfortable. So the more that you see other people's names chatting, the more people see you chatting and being involved online. When you meet in person, it makes everything go much more smoothly, is what I found in my experience. So I cannot recommend enough that you get involved in the Discord chats. And that is my biggest advice to any attendees.
That's another thing. People ask, hey, I'm interested in speaking at a future RECON, or I'm interested in being a guide at a future RECON. Right now, our docket for speakers and for guides is full. We have more people than we could accommodate. But if you want to be involved in something like that in the future, and I'm putting this at the end because this is a big tip, but this is for people who are like really plugged in. Get involved. We need to have some trust. We need to know that you're someone who is plugged into the community, who cares. We're looking for different skill sets for different events. We need different skill sets for virtual than we need for in person. We also need a lot more volunteers when we're running virtually, which surprises people. If you want to be involved, be a presence online. Come to a RIA event. Come to a meetup. Get yourself into the community in some capacity, because that's really where we recruit our guides out of. And in terms of speakers, if you want to speak, you got to let us know. Shoot Lee-Fay or I a message if it's off season. We're going to tell you when we open up a call for proposals. You got to tell us about the idea that you have. We do approach some people and specifically ask them to do some talks, but a lot of the people who are speaking this year are people who submitted talks in that call for proposal. So make it known, and also understand that you're going to have to be willing to work with us. If you've spoken at another escape room conference in North America in that calendar year, or you're scheduled to, we're not going to have you at that point. We're not looking at stealing speakers from other cons.
I have a question for everybody that's so off topic. So, Lee-Fay, I'm not sure if you've played any escape rooms in LA or California in general. You haven't been able to yet. Okay, so I know David and PG are very versed in the LA escape room scene, and they've played a lot of things around the area. I played 49 games in 2 weeks when I was there last. I was trying to fit everything in.
Theresa, you're such a hero.
I do things. So a lot of people talk about the obvious of you got Stash House there, you got Lab Rat there, you have a lot of the old classics that are still absolutely loved by the community. You obviously have Ministry of Peculiarities there, and so many new games that are popping up that are exciting. Is there any game that you think is a hidden gem there that not enough people talk about that you want folks to maybe check out while they're in the area?
Ghost of Mentryville. It's freaking incredible. It is one of my favorite low-budget escape rooms. It is a work of art built into an overgrown closet. I love this game so much. And if you were thinking, oh, I can't make something great on the budget I have, you can. You just have to back it up with skill. Arcane Escape has done it. Go see what they did.
That is usually my go-to hidden gem, but oh my goodness, it's hard to pick favorites. I will say that one of the newer escape rooms to open up is a pretty old school style. It is Escape Room 66. They have 2 games called Insidious and The Mushroom. And these are honestly not fancy. There's not a lot of tech. They're pretty old school locks, a lot of locks in the rooms, but there is something just really charming and fun about the puzzle flow of these games. So if you're interested in seeing these old school, low tech rooms done that are really fun, I would recommend checking that out. That said, I don't want you to go in with crazy expectations, but
they're also very close to the convention center.
They're very central in LA.
I think that Escape 66 is going to be one of the sleeper hits of RECON. It's going to be that mix of quality meets accessibility. People are going to go play these games and they're going to have a good time.
If you do rent a car and want to leave the city, one of our favorites on our trip, and let me preface this with, we are very puzzly people, so we really like games that actually challenge our team and take us the full time, and there's tons of puzzle content. Mindtrap has a game called 40 Thieves, about, I don't know, an hour outside of LA. It's far out there, but if you're doing the drive, you're renting a car, I think it's well worth driving and seeing what they've done with the puzzle flow of the game. I think it has one of the most unique implementations of a smell puzzle, and our group hates smell puzzles. We see it and we all go, ugh, at the same time. And this one actually redeemed that for us. So I think it's absolutely, if you're willing to drive out there, it is such an interesting game, and it's very puzzly, which is a lot of fun for us.
You can also drive down to San Diego. Jason and Marquetta were on earlier this season. Check out Steal and Escape. I adore their games.
Yes, they're so cute.
You can hit up Anaheim, visit Crossroads, play the Weeping Witch or the Hex Room. There's so many wonderful things. Just pick a direction and go. You will find some great games. We will have the guides for you. They're on Room Escape Artist now. We'll be putting out more information to the RECON guest email list. You will have all the information you need. You won't be able to play absolutely everything, but you will have a wonderful time exploring the games of Southern California.
PG and I had an absolutely interesting time at Weeping Witch, and it was memorable as heck. It wasn't on the website yet. We had no idea there was an actor, and boy, did that screw us up.
Playing with you guys is fun because you get so scared, and my team are like hearts of stone, so it's not fun playing with them.
I think there was 5 of us standing in the corner grabbing onto each other, screaming when we realized, oh my god, there's something in this room that's alive, because we really did not expect an actor in there at all. It's on the website now, on the homepage.
My favorite part about Theresa's team is that they all are so smart and they come across as all really intense, but they all have a little bit of a marshmallow filling that that breaks in horror, and it's lovely.
I have a story about that for the bonus episode, so stick around.
Lee-Fay, if our listeners want to get more information on RECON LA, where can they go to find it?
They should go to our website, realityescapecon.com. All the updates will be there.
Or check us out on social media, Reality Escape Con, on Instagram, on TikTok, Facebook. We're wherever you're looking. Heather is running all sorts of stuff there, which I guess brings me to the last thing I should say. There's a lot of people involved in this. We have gone through in past episodes and named everybody. It's the same crew of people. They are incredible. They are wonderful. They're all so good at what they do. Their bios are on our website as well. Check them out. Meet them in person. It's a great team.
You can't miss us either. We're going to have the brightest shirts on at RECON.
Oh, David caved and let us have yellow and bright blue shirts.
Yeah.
All right. Lee-Fay, Theresa, thank you so much for joining us for this special episode on RECON Los Angeles. I know that you and the entire team have been working very hard to make this a smooth and entertaining event. I cannot wait to see what all of your hard work has led up to. This is one of my most anticipated events of the year. If you are in the escape room field, if you're interested in it, I think this is a can't miss, just to meet the people, hear all the talks, and to really immerse yourself into everything that the industry has to offer. Thank you both so much for joining us, and hopefully I will see everybody there at RECON Los Angeles.
The Reality Escape Pod is produced by Theresa Piazza with support by Lisa Spira and Richard Burns. We're edited by Steve Ewing of Stand Inside Media, music by Ryan Elder, logo by Janine Proct, and all of this is brought to you by RoomEscapeArtist.com, your home for well-researched, rational, and reasonably humorous escape room and immersive gaming content and events.
If we haven't made it clear enough this season, the Reality Escape Convention, RECON, is happening August 18th and 19th, 2024. Get your tickets and hope to see you at RECON. You can learn more at realityescapecon.com. Details in the show notes. Believe it or not, we are 10 years into Room Escape Artist. And it took a long time for us to decide that we were going to go and open up a Patreon, but we eventually got there because some loyal readers at the time we're really insistent. Over the years, we have added a lot of different things to that Patreon. People at the $5 level get access to the bonus show for this podcast. Folks at the $15 level get the incredible Spoilers Club. But more than anything, they get to support all of the things that we're doing here. And it's hard to tell you just how much that means to PG and I, to the entire team at Room Escape Artist. We put in so much time, so much love, and so much energy into everything that we are doing here to support the escape room and immersive gaming communities, to push them to be safer and more fun, to be smarter and more efficient, to try and pull new players in. We're working on all of these things all the time. And the money and support that we get from our Patreon community is the fuel that keeps all of that moving forward. If you're a part of that, thank you so much. And if you have been considering becoming a part of it, give it a shot. We really, truly will appreciate it. Thanks. You can learn more about all of this at patreon.com/roomescapeartist. Big thank you to our highest level Patreon supporters: Karen, Dawnward, Panic Room, Piyush from SEO Orb, Olivier Escape, Escaparium, Byron Delmonico, Breakout Games, Keystone Escape Games, Derek Tam, Paula Swan, and Rex Miller. Thank you for your ongoing support. And thank you to all of our patrons at all levels.
You've made it to the end of this podcast. You must be an amazing, resilient, and very loyal person. If you're still feeling that delightful afterglow, why don't you head on over to Apple Podcasts or wherever you review your podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. It really means a lot and it helps us to spread the word.
I heard about escape rooms on the radio, and I had a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old and very few dates with my husband. And I said to Tim, I really want to go and do this thing and spend quality time with you, my love. So kids were packed off to my mother, and we booked into an escape room. It was a Lost-themed room. We didn't know what was happening, but they had a rail half a plane in the room, which is exciting, and it was split rooms. So I was locked in the cockpit, and Tim was locked in the main bit of the plane. And we spent 50 minutes separated with me yelling at him because I had a laser pointer that didn't work that was meant to do something. And I'm yelling at my husband, and he carefully, with his fingers, unscrewed a whole lot of bolts. And we sheepishly gave them back to the GM at the end of the game. And so that was my first. We did not escape. I didn't leave the cockpit. We didn't leave the plane. And I'm surprised that I'm still married. Oh, I ever played another escape room.
Was your second experience slightly better?
It was way better. It was probably another 1.5 years before we played another escape room.
Wow.